Hi, and this is Exploring with Em and Stu.
And today we brought you to the ruined Church of All Saints here in Panxworth. So today we're going to continue our Every Church Challenge.
We are.
We're actually here in Norfolk, not too far away from the small village of North Walsham. And like I said, we're actually in a tiny little hamlet called Panxworth, where we're going to be taking you for a look at what's left of their Church of All Saints. It's got quite an interesting story behind it, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of the history and we're going to show you a little bit of what's left. 9 miles northeast of Norwich, the medieval Church of All Saints has a very similar story to many others around Norfolk. It was built some distance away from the small parish that it was actually built to serve. And that small parish really only ever had a very small collection of houses anyway. And although little is known about the original medieval church that was here, with the village of Ranworth not very far away at all, it comes as no surprise that by the 16th century it was actually in disrepair, and they decided to pull down the nave and the chancel, leaving just the tower by itself. But if you look quite closely, it doesn't take you long to realise that there is actually something not quite right about this supposed medieval tower. Because in 1847, a group of local businessmen paid to have the nave and chancel replaced. But of course, a small village of this size couldn't support a church in the 16th century, and the situation really was no different this time. And by 1969, the church was once again derelict and unused. And when no further uses could be found, it was decided to demolish the Victorian additions, leaving the tower sitting alone once again.
And here comes Emma from, as usual, a great bit of information.
Just a little bit there, yeah.
But I've got a few questions today, and I'm sure you lot will be the same. Businessmen just coming to do a random church, it's unusual.
Yeah, well, I can only assume, obviously, they were local businessmen, and I guess they were quite fond of the church. Of course, it was only just the tower that was left, having been demolished in the 16th century, and they came along with their 500 quid and they decided that they wanted to rebuild it again, having sat just the tower for 200 years.
That's quite amazing, actually.
I guess they thought maybe people would come again.
And how long ago was this? Look, 1800s Victorian?
It was 1847, I do believe, so really very early Victorian. And I think the building that they stuck on is described as a box-like chancel. I mean, I don't know, I can only assume it wasn't overly in keeping. I think there actually might be 1 or 2 pictures of what it was like towards the end of its life before it was demolished again.
Yeah, but why didn't it work? I mean, obviously, it was not that long ago, 1847.
No.
So why didn't this work? Why does it actually look like this now?
Well, I guess, like I said a little while ago, it never worked in the 16th century. Why was it going to work now? All the local residents, there wasn't very many of them, who lived in Panxworth, decided to go to Ranworth, and they've got a stunning church there. In fact, if we can put some pictures in, we will. And they got used to, over 200 years, going to that church. So, you know, it was a bit pointless thinking that they could rebuild this and that a huge congregation was suddenly going to come out of nowhere. But I think they meant well, I suppose.
They did.
Anyway, but
that's it. But what we're going to do now, we're going to turn you around and we're going to take you for a little tour around this little part of the church.
Won't take long.
No, it won't do. So hang on to your seats and we'll be right back with you. I'm just having a look around the church myself, and obviously Emma's doing a little bit of looking around as well, and we've got a little bit more information for you, so I think, Emma, take it away.
Yeah, so the tower here, I mean, it's very stereotypical medieval Norfolk belfry with its square tower. We often see quite a lot of these. I imagine this is very similar to many of the other ones that we've seen in the past. It's got some lovely sort of flint napped battlements on the top there with some nice sort of decorations in. Again, very much like all the other ones that we've come across recently in Norfolk. But of course, this section that we see on the end here, very likely part of that Victorian addition that we can see. And there's a few things to show you here as well. If we look just above me there, we can actually see that lovely decorated sort of lintel. We believe that is in fact from the original 14th century church, obviously incorporated into the newer addition. But in here we've got quite a large ornate window there. I can only assume it probably has some nice stained glass in there once upon a time. And right up the top there, it's actually nice to see a few of the remains of where the bells would have hung, as well as another window. But there's no other features sort of in here. Sometimes we do often see things that would have been in here, but that's about it. It's not really a very big one, but you know, that's quite nice to take you for a little look at that.
Believe it or not, these places are just nice to walk around, aren't they?
They are.
And they're peaceful as well. They're very peaceful and they're beautiful. I mean, this is literally bang in the middle of a field. Nothing around you. It's literally nothing here. I
don't actually think that I can even see any houses.
There's no houses around here, no.
Right now. Like I said, this was built at the outskirts, Panxworth Hamlet, if you can call it.
It's over there.
Is, I don't know, well over half a mile that way.
We drove through it.
I would say, yeah. So goodness knows why they decided to build it here.
But do you know what? I have a respect for the businessmen because obviously they just wanted to keep the church going, didn't they?
They did, yeah. And there is actually some pictures of it before it was demolished when it was looking a little worse for wear. Again, I'll try and put some pictures in of that.
That's
but yeah, it's still quite nice to take you for a little look, even if there's not an awful lot left to see.
No, that's right. But we're going to carry on having a look around now. But Emma has one or two little additions that she needs to tell you. Yeah. And the sad part and the happier part. So
because the story isn't quite finished. No. So let's get to that.
Take her over to Emma now.
And so the isolated tower stood for many years unloved and fenced off, supposedly to keep away the satanic worshippers that had taken to congregating around it, or so I've read. And then in 2005, there was more devastation for this poor tower because it was actually struck by lightning, badly damaging it, putting a hole in the parapet, and they actually decided that maybe they should just demolish it because, of course, it was way too unsafe to leave just standing there. But of course, as you can see, that didn't happen. Thankfully, they managed to find some funding to be able to repair all the damage. And once again, the tower sits as a monument in this beautiful landscape.
Now we've come to the end of our video, and what an interesting story, Emma.
Yes, it certainly is. We wanted to do this one because it did actually have a little bit of a story behind why it sits just as a tower, as many churches in Norfolk actually do sit as a tower. But we, of course, we know the story behind this one, so we hope you enjoyed that little bit of information.
That's it. But if you have enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It's been building our channel a lot, so thank you very much.
Yep, and of course, if you like abandoned churches, then we are working our way through as many as we can in the Norfolk and Suffolk area. I think this is probably about the 15th or the 16th one we've done now.
That's it.
We've got a playlist for them just below. And if you'd like to see a little bit more of us, we've got a wonderful group of Patreons that help us out each month by making a small donation, and they get some extra content from us for that. So again, that'll all be down there in the description. But of course, from the lovely Church of All Saints here in Panxworth, Norfolk, we hope you enjoyed watching.
We'll see you again.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.